Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is another stitch with me while I continue working on Primrose Cottage stitches. This is Halloween. So I have everything I use linked in the description box, my Lowery stuff, the handy clamp scroll rods, which I love them. I decided to switch my fabric from the lock scroll rods to the handy clamp. And let me tell you, I stitched for a while last night and the fabric didn't get loose. Like when I would work with the lock scroll rods, the fabric would tend to get loose. It doesn't in this. Very impressed with those. So today, of course, will also be a true crime story time, but we will chat for a couple minutes. So I do have some people that bought me a coffee, so I would like to celebrate and mention them. Peg bought me 4 coffees and says, have a great day. Peg, thank you so very much. And then my wonderful friend, Sandra Toland, bought me 2 coffees and says, you're the best, love ya. Sandra, thank you so very much. I appreciate everyone, like I had said in a couple videos ago, who continues to stay a member of the channel, who has still remained a patron, who buys me a coffee. It is all very, very much appreciated. So yesterday, like I had said in my video, I did not have a job yesterday, but filled the day. Instacarted some stuff, did house stuff, talked on the phone. I was on the phone with my dad and then my stepfather. And so in banking, I can easily fill the day with tasks that doesn't even involve work. So what did I actually, I didn't go anywhere yesterday. Yesterday was payday for our team, and I pay the invoices through my boss's Venmo, so I did that, although we only worked but 2 days last week, so everyone's check wasn't very much, but something is better than zero, right? And yeah, I actually did get out to start diamond painting, and I only recorded 8 minutes of myself diamond painting because why did I stop? Bill, it wasn't that Bill came home. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it, right? I kind of go with it. Like, I've been just loving stitching so much that, that's what I'm doing at the moment. And so he came home and he mowed the lawn, and I was in here doing stuff. And we had leftovers for dinner, which I like. Well, he had made chicken with shake and bake on it on Tuesday, and we had mac and cheese. And, there are some things that don't heat up or aren't as good as when they're initially made. Macaroni and cheese is one of them. And even the chicken wasn't as good. So, it was okay. But, it was good to have a leftover dinner because we had already paid for it, right? Like money-wise, but it wasn't like the best. So tonight we are going to have baked potato and a pork loin that is like bacon, applewood, smoked something. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. We actually watched the finale of America's Got Talent. Finally, we were weeks behind. Finally watched that. I had seen on Facebook who had won, so I didn't tell Bill who had won, but I was like, God damn, I hate when I see it. I hate when I see it before I watch it. And then we actually started watching a 2020 that was about the Stanford murders, the Stanford University murders. And we like 2020, and we have like 3 to watch that, we just didn't watch. So tonight we'll definitely watch some TV. Tomorrow I'm doing that festival with my mom during the day. So last night we had dinner, we watched the TV, and we're sitting there, right? So my foot doctor appointment is for my right foot because my right foot, the joint has been bothering me, and I think it's a bunion arthritis. It's something like that. Well, we're sitting there in our recliners, and Bill's like, let me see your left foot. Like, take your sock off. He's like, you have a bunion on that foot. Like the bone, the joint, like protrudes out. And I never even noticed it. And I don't have pain in that foot. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Now when I go to this foot doctor, I'm going to be like, well, I was initially here for my right foot, but it's both feet. Great. So, of course, he has me thinking, you know, I'm doing all this research. I'm looking for stuff. You know, there are things that you can buy that you can wear for at night or whatever that will keep your toe in alignment. Because what it is your toes are out of alignment. And when I did research, I looked it up, and it's like people that stand on their feet a lot. I'm like, I'm not on my feet a lot. My job consists of me sitting down. So who knows how it even transpired. Now, my right foot, though, I fell last year down our back steps. So that may have something to do with that. But as far as my left foot, and I'm just like, so now it's like I'm worrying about that. I don't know. I mean, bunions are common. It's a common thing. So, and surgery is usually the last like step that they take. They try to, you know, conservative measures to fix it, and I feel like from what I saw online, my case of it is mild compared to what I've seen. So if I can get a handle on it now, you know what I mean? Maybe it won't get any worse. But I'm just like, really? Like, can I not have something else to deal with? Yeah. Okay, so like I said, I don't have a job today. Getting a bunch of house stuff done. And have you ever killed a bug in your house and then you have to like clean an entire door or something? That happened to me this morning. So I'm the kind of person that if I have to take a gift over to someone's house or something over, I like to put it in my car, especially if I know I'm not going anywhere for a couple days and it's not going to be affected by a temperature change, either heat or cold or whatever. I like to put it in my car so I don't forget it. And Bill likes to laugh at me because he's like, you never forget anything. So this Saturday, going to pick up my mom for the festival. My stepfather's birthday is next week, and I wrapped his present the other night. And I'm like, you know what? Yesterday, I'm going to put it in the car because I'm taking it over there on Saturday. You know, killing two birds with one stone with that. And then our neighbor brought bread, and I decided to give it to my mom. And this morning, I put the bread in the car. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but I am. Because that way, it's not even in my head now. Like, it's in the car. I know when I get in the car tomorrow to go pick her up that it's already there. I don't have to think about it. Yeah, I do that all the time with stuff. I've started slowly Christmas shopping a little bit. I found something for Bill today that actually is for both of us, but I'm going to wrap it and let him unwrap it. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't know what videos of mine he chooses to watch or not watch. But yeah, I found him something, and he swears he's going to give me a list. I'm not giving him a list this year. Remember, we talked about this because everything I got last year, I knew what I was getting. I have a handful of things on my Amazon wish list, and I actually keep those things on there more per se for ideas, but also like for subscribers, because some people like to buy me a gift here and there. I only have I have 6 things on there. I have the Card Sharks board game, because we love that game show. I have this popcorn where it's flavor wrapped popcorn kernels. I have a plaid flannel shirt that I liked. I have Raycon wireless earbuds. I have a sound bender as seen on Shark Tank that will amplify the sound from your iPad. And then I have Bunion relief socks, which I almost bought, but I didn't. I actually did buy, however, to, and I looked at a lot of reviews because there's a lot of Bunion products on Amazon. This is called a Bunion Bootie Corrector for women and men, where you buy one for your left foot, one for your right foot, and they want you to wear it for like 6 hours. I'm hoping I can wear it at night when I'm sleeping. So those are coming tomorrow. I figure I'm going to give it a shot at least, because my appointment for the doctor is not until October 29th. So I still have like 3 weeks. 3 weeks from today, actually. Yeah, is my appointment. So yeah, I wound up taking off work that day because I have his appointment in the morning with him. And then I have a hair appointment at 5 o'clock. And now I would be saying, okay, I can't work in the beginning of the day and then I have to stop work early, and I went, forget it. So I've already secured coverage. I already got people for that day. Good to go. And she's going to be doing like big changes to my hair, as far as we're going to be making it more blonde. So I'm going to be there a while, I'm guessing. But yeah, and what I've started to do with Amazon too, instead of like, say I have something I want to order, if I don't need it like right that minute, I'll leave it in the cart, because I am so over receiving like 5 Amazon packages. Like, I want to try to get everything shipped in one box. Do you know what I mean? So I have 2 things in there actually right now in the cart. There's a tool I like to use for cross stitch called a snag nabbit, where it's like rough on one end and a needle point on the other end. So you put it through, like, let's say a stitch is loose. If you put it through there and pull it to the back, the nubby rough end will pull your stitch to the back. It's a fantastic tool. I've used it quite a bit, but I lose them because it's this really thin piece of needle, and it comes in like this plastic sleeve that I can't find the one I bought. So I went on Amazon, I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy like 4 of them and maybe even tie like a piece of yarn or something to it. They make this kit that is $7.99, and it has 12 of these snag nabbits in it, and it comes in a plastic case. I'm not going to lose the plastic case. So I have that in there, and then I wear a night guard at night because I grind my teeth. I've worn that for probably 15 years. And I use this stuff to clean my night guard every couple of days, called Fresh Guard, where you fill a cup with water, you put this packet of powder in it, and it cleans it. So I just used the last packet this morning. So you can use it for night guards, retainers, clear braces like Invisalign and stuff like that. What it does is it cleans the odor-causing bacteria on it. So yeah, those 2 are sitting in my cart because I don't need them right this minute, and I know that there will be something I'll have to order, and then I'll have to place the order. But that is what I've started to do as far as that, because yeah, I hate ordering 5 things in a day, 5 different orders, and they all come in a separate package, and I'm just like, oh my God. So yeah, last night I stitched and I got done. I don't know if you're going to see it totally in this video, because this video will not be an hour. I recorded myself an hour stitching. That really is the amount of time I stitch in the evening. It is about an hour. I got done the 3 stars on the right, and so I was able to move to the next line, and I got the first like poison bottle done. And someone asked me a really good question. They said, you know, when they watch me stitch, they're like, it seems like you don't really have any rhyme or reason how you stitch a motif. And I don't. I try to, like the bottle, I try to outline it. I stitched all the black and then outlined the green and then went back. But how I sometimes I'll complete each row. Sometimes I'll do a half stitch for the whole thing and then go back and complete it all. It's whatever I feel like doing. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't affect the way the stitches look. You can do what you want. You know what I mean? Yeah, and now like sometimes when I do a letter, because I don't like to carry threads when I do the letters, I will try to do like the first leg of the whole entire letter and then go back and fill it all in. But it doesn't always work out like that. So use your judgment. That's all I can say. Okay, so yeah, I stitched last night and I watched most of a Lifetime movie about this killer cheer camp. Just everything is like psychotic people. All those movies on Lifetime are just about. Okay. Today's story is another unexplained mystery. And it is called Toxicity. At around 8:15 on the evening of February 19th, 1994, a woman was wheeled into the emergency room at Riverside General Hospital in Southern California. The woman was barely conscious, mumbling incoherently. Her breath came in rapid, shallow breaths, and her heart was beating way too fast. These symptoms were nothing unusual to the ER staff. They had seen them many times before, although usually in elderly patients. Gloria Ramirez was just 31 years old. Okay, before I go on, I just remembered I watched more of that Midnight Mass show last night. I finished episode 4, watched episode 5, and started 6, and then I had to go to bed. There's only 7 episodes, so I'm almost done, but oh my God, episode 5 broke my heart. Totally just, it's such a good show. It's so good. It's so, oh my God. And I was trying to tell Bill about it, and I'm like, how does somebody write this? How do you write this kind of show? And I'll probably, depending on what time we go to bed tonight, I'll probably try to finish it tonight. If not tonight, definitely tomorrow. And there's a bunch of movies that came out on Netflix that I want to watch, so that will be something for me to watch next. It's so good, though. But you know what's funny? Okay, so in my bedroom, I have like the ceramic bowl that one of my subscribers gave me. Her daughter makes them in an Etsy store or something. I can't remember the name of the store. But I have it on my nightstand, and I'll put like my night guard case in there, my light switch. I have a remote to my light in my bedroom, the TV remote, lip stuff. I have that kind of stuff there. And normally when I decide to go to sleep and turn off the TV, I will put the remote in that bowl. Well, last night I did not. I keep my phone next to me in the bed, charging. I just decided, and I had my iPad there too, because I've been playing Candy Crush at night when I've been watching the TV. And by the way, oh my God, it took me, I must have played a level 35 times last night before I passed it. Yeah. Anyway, instead of putting the remote in the bowl, I just laid it next to me. So I went to bed like 11:30, something like that. In the middle of the night, like at 3 a.m, I turned over and I put my hand down, and I put my hand down perfectly on the remote and turned the TV on. How is that possible? I was telling Bill that this morning when he called me, and he was dying laughing, and I'm like, what are the odds? I'm like, if I tried to do that, I couldn't. Turned the TV on, and then I had to find the remote to turn it back off. I was just like, really? Like, wow. Yeah. And I'm like, why is Netflix coming on? Yeah, it was funny though. Okay, back to the story. So protocol in such situations is well established. Get air into the patient's lungs, get symptom relieving drugs into the bloodstream. Maureen Welch, a respiratory therapist, attended to the former, placing a plastic mask over the patient's nose and mouth and giving her air via an ambu bag. Meanwhile, a cocktail of fast-acting medications was administered intravenously to Gloria Ramirez: Valium, Versed, and Ativan to sedate her, lidocaine and Bertilium, and Bertilium to get her heartbeat under control. When these methods failed to produce the desired result, a crash cart was called for. The patient's t-shirt was removed so that the paddles could be applied to her chest, and it was at this time that members of the resuscitation team noticed an oily sheen on her skin and picked up a pungent odor, a bit like garlic, coming from her mouth. In the midst of all this frenetic activity, Blood had to be obtained for analysis so that doctors could understand what they were dealing with. Nurse Susan Kane was given the job and went about it in her usual efficient way. First, the patient's arm was swabbed with alcohol, then a catheter was inserted and a syringe attached. Then, as the syringe filled with dark fluid, Kane noticed a chemical smell. She handed the syringe to Maureen Welch and then leaned in closer to trace the source of the strange odor. Welch sniffed the syringe and detected something too. The blood smelled like ammonia. She then passed on the syringe to Julie Gorczynski, a medical resident. Gorczynski held the vial up to the light and noticed odd beige-colored blobs floating in the blood. It was at this point that the practice routine of the ER began to veer out of control. What the fuck? The first person to display symptoms was Nurse Susan Kane. Kane was walking from the trauma unit when she suddenly started to sway. She would definitely have fallen had ER doctor Humberto Ochoa not been there to catch her. As he lowered the nurse gently to the floor, Ochoa noticed that she was running a temperature and he called for a gurney and Kane was wheeled from the ER. Across the room, Dr. Julie Gorczynski had also begun to display symptoms. Quite suddenly, she felt lightheaded and queasy, unable to stay on her feet. Gorczynski staggered from the room and slumped into a chair at a nurse's desk. Moments later, she slid out of her seat and onto the floor. She, too, was loaded onto a gurney. Then her symptoms took a worrying turn. She began shaking uncontrollably, and her breathing stopped. Then it resumed, only to stop for a few seconds before starting up again. This is a potentially dangerous condition known as apnea. Meanwhile, back at the trauma unit, Maureen Welch, the respiratory therapist, had just collapsed. Can you imagine? All of these people that came in contact with this woman's blood, or her, is now like collapsing. So full-scale chaos now broke out in the ER. Several staff members began complaining that they felt nauseous. Some had staggered from the room. Others were forced to sit as their legs felt unsteady under them. At this point, hospital administrators had no option but to declare an emergency. Most of the trauma unit staff were evacuated to the parking lot along with their patients. The only ones who remained inside were the doctors and nurses still fighting to keep Gloria Ramirez alive. And that was not going well. Despite the best efforts of Dr. Ochoa and his team, Gloria was fading fast. Her blood pressure continued to drop, and the drugs and electric shocks were having no effect. At 8:40, she flatlined. At 8:50, Ochoa called it. Gloria Ramirez was dead. Outside in the parking lot, meanwhile, a surreal scene was being played out. Doctors and nurses had been ordered to strip down to their underwear for fear that their clothes had been contaminated by some noxious chemical. Can you imagine? These half-clad medical professionals now hustled between beds, attending their patients under the dull orange glow of the parking lot lights. Some of those patients were their colleagues, of course. Dr. Gorczynski continued to experience tremors and apnea. Susan Kane appeared to have lost control of her limbs as they flailed and spasmed. There was also a new casualty. Nurse Sally Balderas was one of those who had continued attending Gloria Ramirez. Now she started retching and complaining of a burning sensation on her skin. Soon she was too weak to stand and had to be laid out on a gurney. Wow, I can't even this is unexplained, so, okay. By now, hospital management had requested a hazardous materials team from the county, the theory being that some toxic substance might have leaked into the ER. The team arrived at around 11 p.m. and entered the emergency room in full hazmat suits, adding to the sci-fi feel of this chaotic night. It was thorough in its examination, eliminating all of the usual suspects: hydrogen sulfide, phosgene, carbon monoxide. In fact, the hazmat team found nothing that could have caused the mass outbreak of symptoms. That was a relief to the hospital board, but it served only to deepen the mystery, because then what the F is going on, right? 37 staff members were on duty in Trauma Room 1 that night. Of those 37, 23 people experienced symptoms. 5 had to be hospitalized overnight, while for others the stay would be longer, the effects more extreme. Susan Balderas would be confined to a bed for 10 days, afflicted with spasms and apnea. Julie Gorczynski had to spend 2 weeks in intensive care. Jesus! During that time, she was diagnosed with hepatitis, pancreatitis, and avascular necrosis, a condition in which bone tissue starts to die. In her case, the disease attacked the knees. She would require crutches for several months after she was discharged. How the hell do you work in an ER on crutches? I'm guessing you don't. But what had caused these terrible symptoms? The common denominator, of course, was the recently deceased Gloria Ramirez. Almost everyone who had come into contact with the unfortunate woman had become ill. Might her body have harbored some unidentified pathogen, some toxic chemical? There was only one way to find out, and so an autopsy was ordered. It would be conducted with every precaution in place, the doctors clad in airtight protective gear. They emerged with blood, tissue, and hair samples, each of which was analyzed by the coroner's office. 7 days later, the results were in. Nothing unusual had been found, so it was time to escalate the problem. The Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory is a private consultancy offering high-tech forensic analysis to a broad spectrum of clients, including state and federal law enforcement agencies. In March of 1994, tissue samples from Gloria Ramirez's heart, liver, lungs, brain, and kidneys were shipped here, along with blood and bile samples. The tests applied to these samples utilized the very latest in computer-guided forensic technology, and they were exhaustive. I'm guessing these people at this facility are wearing hazmat suits daily. They would have to, right? They picked up a number of anomalies, but nothing that could not be explained by Gloria's drug regime. She had recently been diagnosed with inoperable late-stage cervical cancer and was on prescribed medication. She had also been taking large doses of codeine and Tylenol to ease her pain. This, however, could not have accounted for the cardiac dysrhythmia that had killed her. It most certainly could not account for the symptoms of the ER workers. These conclusions were deeply unsatisfying. I bet they were. People want answers. You want to know what's going on. But they did provide health department officials with support for the narrative that they had begun to build. The hazmat team had found no toxic materials, and blood test results on afflicted ER staff had returned nothing anomalous. Now, the most sophisticated forensic lab in the country had drawn a blank. All of this was pointing in one direction. On September 2nd, 1994, came the official announcement. It concluded that the unexplained symptoms were the result of a mass sociogenic event. What they were saying was that the ER workers had succumbed to mass hysteria. What? So they're blaming them. Okay, no. This, understandably, was not well received. Yeah, no shit, right? As a matter of fact, it sparked outrage. These were seasoned and professional medical workers. Fraught life and death situations were their stock in trade. This was what they were trained for, what they faced every single day of their working lives. To suggest that a simple cardiac arrest situation had thrown them into an anxiety-derived meltdown was not only insulting, it was libelous. But the hospital authorities were unmoved. They correctly pointed out that the paramedics who had brought Gloria Ramirez to the hospital, who had been in close proximity to her in the ambulance, who had even come into contact with her blood when starting an IV line, had suffered no ill effects. Okay, that's a good point. They also noted that all of the ER workers who had suffered symptoms were female. Male staff members like Dr. Ochoa, who had stayed longer with Ramirez than anyone, had experienced no ill effects. The implication was that women are more prone to hysteria than men. Jesus, really? That's throwing down the gauntlet. In the modern era, it would likely have sparked an uproar. In this case, it resulted in at least one lawsuit. Julie Gorczynski sued Riverside General Hospital for $6 million in damages. Wow. Later, Maureen Welch would issue a plea to Livermore Labs, asking them to take another look at the evidence, and to their credit, Livermore agreed. The second inquiry, we know I hate that word, would unearth a startling detail that had somehow been missed the first time around. It appeared that Gloria Ramirez had been in the habit of covering herself from head to toe in dimethyl sulfone, most commonly known as DMSO. The substance has a somewhat checkered history. Back in the early 60s, it had been marketed as a muscle relaxant cream and had been regarded as a cure-all for all sorts of ailments. Okay. Doctors regularly prescribed it as a painkiller or to reduce stress. Professional athletes used it to relieve muscle strains. But then came a 1965 study suggesting that regular use of DMSO could severely damage the user's eyesight, and the product fell out of favor. When interest was revived in the late 70s, it was no longer available in medicinal form. The only product that still contained it was an industrial strength degreaser available in hardware stores. The problem was that DMSO found in this degreaser was 99% pure, as opposed to the far less concentrated form that was in the muscle creams of the 1960s. This is what Gloria Ramirez had been using to alleviate the unbearable agony of her late-stage cancer. Jesus, so that can't be good to ingest. Wow. With the possible culprit now identified, the lab started looking at the potential hazards of DMSO and made an important discovery. Exposed to oxygen, DMSO converts to dimethyl sulfate. In vapor form, this destroys cells in the eyes, lungs, and mouth. When it gets inside the body, it can cause convulsions, delirium, and paralysis. These were the exact symptoms experienced by medical staff on the night that Gloria Ramirez was brought to the ER. So it wasn't mass hysteria after all, you big dummies. They had suffered from dimethyl sulfate poisoning. This theory is also borne out by other facts of the case. DMSO cream would explain the oily sheen that doctors noticed on Gloria's skin and the globules. How the fuck do you say that? It's like globs, but globules in her blood. It would also explain the garlicky odor coming from her mouth. It seemed the mystery had been solved at last, but there was only one problem. Gloria Ramirez's family denied categorically that she had ever used DMSO. I don't know, was she living with someone? I'm guessing if she had late-stage cancer, it's so weird, right? But no matter how one looks at this case, it is a tragedy. A young woman, the mother of 2 young children, was afflicted by a terrible disease. The pain must have been excruciating, and with medical science unable to help, she had resorted to desperate measures. It hadn't saved her, and it has left us with a bizarre medical puzzle to solve. We still don't know for certain what happened in the Riverside General Emergency Room that night. That seems like the most likely thing, though, the DMSO, that she was using it. Wow. My God. You got to be careful about what you use on your body. That's absorbed into your bloodstream, that's absorbed into your skin, for sure. So, okay. Had you ever heard of that story? That was a good one. I liked that one. So I hope you guys all have a fantastic Friday and a good weekend. I will be back on Monday with another true crime story. Tomorrow will be my cross-stitch vlog that I've been recording all week, so if you enjoy that. So, as always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.